Don't fight life. Understand it, a simple guide to the Four Noble Truths. Life does not wound us because it is cruel. It wounds us because it moves. The river flows and we try to dam it with our hand. Time passes and we beg it to stay. People change and we cling to who they were. The body ages and we argue with each ache as if it were a mistake. And in that quiet resistance, suffering is born. Not because something has gone wrong, but because we have misunderstood what life is. Under the vast sky, nothing holds still. Clouds form and dissolve. Fire warms and then fades. Even the stars, ancient as they seem, are moving, burning, becoming something else. Yet somehow, we believe we should be the exception. We believe happiness should be permanent. Love should never change. Success should protect us from loss, and pain should not come to us if we have lived carefully enough. This belief is subtle. It does not announce itself loudly. It whispers through disappointment, anxiety, exhaustion, and the unspoken thought, this shouldn't be happening. The Buddha did not begin by offering comfort. He began by offering clarity, not as a judge of life, but as one who looked deeply and spoke. What he saw was not pessimism, but compassion. A recognition that suffering is not a personal failure, nor a punishment, nor proof that something is broken inside us. It is a signal that we are fighting the nature of things. This teaching is ancient, yet it breathes in every modern moment, in traffic jams and hospital rooms, in broken relationships and restless nights lit by glowing screens, in the quiet success that still feels empty, in the longing that follows pleasure like a shadow. Tonight, we sit beside the fire of understanding, not to escape life, but to stop wrestling with it, to learn how to meet it as it is, and in doing so, discover a freedom that does not depend on circumstances. There is a truth so simple that the mind often overlooks it. Suffering exists not as an idea, but as a lived reality. A tightness in the chest when expectations collapse. A dull ache of comparison while scrolling through other lives. A loneliness that can exist even in a crowded room. The fear beneath ambition. The grief beneath love. This suffering does not require catastrophe. It lives in small moments. The irritation when plans change. The quiet resentment when efforts go unnoticed. The sadness that appears without a clear reason. We often treat suffering as an intruder. We say, this is not me. This is not how it should be. We distract ourselves, analyze it endlessly, or try to drown it in pleasure. But suffering does not disappear when ignored. It waits. It learns our habits. It speaks through the body when the mind refuses to listen. The Buddha did not ask us to worship suffering, nor to wallow in it. He asked us to acknowledge it honestly, to stop pretending that life can be arranged in such a way that pain never visits. This acknowledgement is radical. It removes shame. So much of modern suffering is doubled by self-blame. Not only do we hurt, but we criticize ourselves for hurting. We think we are weak, ungrateful, broken, or failing at life. Yet suffering is not a flaw in your character. It is part of the human condition, as natural as breathing, as universal as birth and death. When this truth is seen clearly, something softens. We stop asking, why me, and begin asking, what is this teaching me? The first noble truth is not a verdict. It is a diagnosis made with compassion. Like a skilled healer, the Buddha did not rush to offer medicine before understanding the illness. Suffering takes many forms. There is the obvious pain of loss, illness, and death. There is the subtle dissatisfaction that lingers even when things go well. And there is the deep existential unease, the sense that something is always slightly unfinished, incomplete, or insecure. Even joy carries a shadow. The moment happiness arises, fear follows quietly behind it. Fear of losing it, fear of change, fear that it will not last. We smile, but we also brace ourselves. This is not cynicism. It is observation. The world promises us fulfillment through accumulation, more experiences, more recognition, more control. Yet the more tightly we grip, the more fragile everything feels. Like trying to hold water in clenched fists, we exhaust ourselves without ever quenching our thirst. The Buddha looked at this pattern and saw that suffering was not random. It followed a law as dependable as gravity. When there is grasping, there is tension. When there is resistance, there is pain. When there is ignorance of impermanence, there is disappointment. Life itself is not the enemy. The misunderstanding of life is. We fight aging instead of caring for the body with tenderness. We fight change instead of learning to adapt. We fight uncertainty instead of resting in awareness. We fight emotions instead of listening to their message. And so life feels like a battle, one we are slowly losing. But what if suffering is not asking us to fight harder, but to see more clearly? In the forest, a monk does not curse the rain. He adjusts his robe. He does not argue with the cold. He builds a fire. He does not blame the night for being dark. He learns to sit with the stars. This is not resignation. It is wisdom. To recognize suffering is to step out of denial. It is to say, this too belongs. And in that recognition, the first gate opens, not to despair, but to understanding. Once suffering is seen, the natural question arises, not as a demand, but as a quiet curiosity. Where does this come from? The answer is uncomfortable, because it points inward. Suffering does not arise because life is unfair. It arises because we cling. We cling to pleasure, wanting it to stay. We cling to identity, wanting to be someone solid and permanent. We cling to views, believing our way of seeing is the truth itself. We cling to control, trying to freeze a moving world. This clinging is not always obvious. It often disguises itself as love, ambition, responsibility, even spirituality. We say we want happiness, but what we often mean is predictability. We say we want love, but what we often mean is assurance that nothing will change. Craving is not simply desire for objects. It is the deeper urge for life to obey our preferences. At its root, craving is a misunderstanding of impermanence. We act as though what is pleasant can be made permanent, and what is unpleasant can be eliminated forever. When reality fails to comply as it always does, suffering blooms. The modern world amplifies this craving. Every notification whispers more. Every advertisement promises fulfillment just beyond the next purchase. Every comparison fuels the belief that we are not enough yet, not complete yet, not successful yet. And so the mind becomes restless, always leaning forward, always negotiating with the future, always postponing peace. Yet even when we get what we want, satisfaction slips through our fingers, pleasure fades, praise grows stale, achievements demand new achievements to sustain their glow. The hunger renews itself, stronger than before. This is not because we are greedy or flawed. It is because craving is insatiable by nature. It feeds on movement. The moment it is satisfied, it looks for the next object. The Buddha saw this clearly. He saw that suffering is not imposed on us from outside, but generated within through attachment and aversion, through the constant habit of saying yes to what we like and no to what we dislike. We want the river to flow only in one direction. We want the sun without the night. We want love without loss. We want life without death. But life does not work this way. The deeper root of craving is the belief in a solid self, a permanent me, who must be protected, enhanced, and secured. When this self feels threatened, craving intensifies. When it feels affirmed, craving celebrates, but never rests. This self is fragile because it is built on conditions. It depends on health, reputation, relationships, roles, and stories. When any of these shift, the self trembles, and so we grasp harder. Yet the very act of grasping creates tension. Like clenching a fist around a sharp object, the pain is self-inflicted, though unintentional. Understanding this is not meant to induce guilt. It is meant to awaken compassion for ourselves and others. We see that everyone is struggling under the same burden of craving, running the same race, chasing the same mirage. The person who hurts you is hurting too. The person who boasts is insecure. The person who clings is afraid to fall. When craving is seen clearly, something remarkable happens. It begins to loosen, not through force, but through insight. We realize we have been drinking salt water, hoping it would quench our thirst. The Buddha did not condemn desire. He distinguished between desire that binds and aspiration that liberates. One pulls us outward, away from the present moment. The other invites us inward, toward understanding. When we stop fighting life and start understanding craving, we discover a new relationship with experience. Pleasure can be enjoyed without clinging. Pain can be felt without resistance. Change can be met without panic. This does not mean life becomes painless. It means suffering no longer multiplies itself through confusion. We still age, but we do not curse time. We still lose, but we do not lose ourselves. We still feel sadness, but it does not define us. Craving once promised safety. Understanding offers freedom. If suffering has a cause, then freedom is not a fantasy. It is a possibility grounded in reality. The Buddha did not offer hope as an abstraction. He pointed to a lived experience, the cessation of suffering when craving ceases. Not the annihilation of life, but the release of struggle. This freedom is subtle. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It arrives quietly, like dawn entering a dark room. It is the moment you feel anger rise and do not feed it. The moment desire appears and you smile at it without obeying. The moment fear tightens the chest and you stay present, breathing, allowing it to pass. Freedom is not found by controlling the world. It is found by understanding the mind. When craving loosens its grip, the heart experiences a spaciousness that does not depend on circumstances. Joy arises without cause. Peace is no longer postponed. This is not indifference. It is intimacy with life as it is. The Buddha called this the end of suffering, but not the end of experience. Life continues, sounds, sensations, thoughts, emotions, but they no longer chain us. How is this lived? Not through belief, but through a path of understanding, ethical sensitivity, and mindful awareness. Right understanding begins with seeing impermanence everywhere, not as an idea, but as a direct experience. Watching the breath rise and fall, watching thoughts appear and dissolve, watching emotions change their texture when met with awareness. When impermanence is seen deeply, clinging loses its logic. Why grasp what cannot be held? Why fear what is already changing? Right intention follows naturally. Intentions of kindness, renunciation, and harmlessness, not as rules imposed from outside, but as expressions of clarity. When the heart understands interconnectedness, cruelty feels like self-harm. Right speech, action, and livelihood are not moral badges. They are forms of mindfulness in motion, ways of living that reduce regret and inner conflict, creating fertile ground for peace. Right effort is not strain. It is a gentle persistence the willingness to return to the present moment again and again, without self-judgment. Right mindfulness is the art of presence. Feeling the body from within, noticing thoughts without believing them, allowing emotions to arise and pass like weather. Right concentration is not escape, it is intimacy, a steady attention that reveals the depth of each moment. This path is not linear. We stumble, we forget, we cling again. And yet each moment of awareness leaves a trace. Each insight weakens old habits. Over time, the mind learns a new rhythm. Less reactive, more spacious, less driven by fear, more anchored in compassion. Freedom does not mean we no longer care. It means we care without attachment. We love without possession. We act without obsession. In a world addicted to speed and noise, this way of being is revolutionary. It does not reject modern life, but it sees through its illusion. You can live this path in a city apartment, in an office, in a hospital, in a home full of responsibilities. The monastery is not a place. It is a way of meeting experience. Each breath is an opportunity. Each emotion is a teacher. Each difficulty is a doorway. When life challenges you, it is not asking for resistance. It is asking for understanding. And understanding, once tasted, becomes its own refuge. Life does not need to be conquered. It needs to be understood. When we stop fighting what is inevitable, energy once spent on resistance becomes available for compassion, for presence, for wisdom. The Four Noble Truths are not ancient relics. They are mirrors held up to this very moment. They ask us to look honestly, without fear, without denial. And in that looking, to discover that freedom is not somewhere else. It is here, waiting for attention. You are not broken for suffering. You are human. You are not weak for craving. You are learning. You are not lost because you feel restless. You are waking up. This path does not promise a life without pain. It offers something far more precious, a heart that is no longer at war with reality. As this reflection settles, allow it to walk with you, into your conversations, into your work, into your quiet moments, and your storms. Let it remind you that understanding is a form of love. If these words have offered even a small refuge, stay close. Return to this space. Walk with this channel as a companion on the path, not as a teacher above you, but as a fellow traveler beside the fire. May you learn to meet life without fists clenched. May you understand instead of fight, and in that understanding, may you be free.